Hi guys, so sorry for the hiatus. I think my last video was that Christmas ditty, and oh no, actually I think I did a New Year's one, but it's now February 20th, the anniversary of my job that I started last year, exactly on this day, the 20th, and I just kind of wanted to check in and talk a little bit about some things that have been going on, and hopefully maybe it'll help some of you guys with things that have been going on in your life. I just have to fix something on my screen real quick. So, long story short, I'll just give a brief update on what's going on. My grandmother has gotten to a point where we're not really sure what's going to happen in the next few weeks or months, if she has that long. So that's been something that's been weighing on my family right now. There's a lot of, questions about her care and, what we're going to do to make sure she's comfortable. And she's 90, so we don't want her to suffer and don't want her to have, to be in pain or, have this kind of life where she's not really living. So that's pretty much that. My friend and I have started a somewhat video blog. Once a month we get together and discuss a book, and we call it Power Hour Book Club. It's called Power Hour Book Club because we involve alcohol, but we tried the Power Hour part, like actually taking shots, and it was a disaster. So now we're just drinking and talking about books, or doing things like baking cookies and stuff. I don't really know what we're gonna be about, but it's fun, so we'll see what happens. You can check us out. I have a link in my YouTube profile, I think, or bio. That's my friend Kim, so she and I have been kind of experimenting there. Aside from that, I have decided to finally look up programs to get my master's in psychology, either Masters of Social Work or my license in Marriage and Family Therapy. There's another program at Pepperdine University online that I'm looking at too. It's a master's in behavioral analysis, so that's kind of cool, and it kind of goes with my recent obsession with Criminal Minds, which is a wonderful show, despite what any of you think. It could be kitschy sometimes, but it's really good to watch, and I am now on season 11 of 12, so winter has been good. Aside from that, I want to talk about something that has been a taboo subject in my life and in the lives of some other people who are probably suffering in silence and don't really know who to go to. And again, it's not just abuse, but 2 years ago, I was pregnant, and it was a surprise. I was married, but we weren't trying, and things were not very good in my relationship at that point. So despite all the things that I wanted out of that, despite wanting to have the child, I knew that it was not the right time and not the right environment, and I couldn't give that the baby what it needed, basically, out of life. And I decided, I partially decided, my husband kind of coerced me into termination, unfortunately. And this may be very controversial for some people, and if it is and you don't want to listen anymore, then please, by all means. But I have been really, really diving into that experience and that trauma this past month, and it's been really difficult, to say the least. I even listened to one of my podcasts that I've been following, and they had an episode about a woman who talked about abortion and what her situation was, and it was completely different from mine. She was not in the same situation that I was, but to hear someone else break out of that taboo universe and just share was, I mean, it was amazing to me. So I wanted to just kind of share what my experience was, what I went through, because it's been really hard for me to talk about it with some people. And it shouldn't be. It was a choice that I made. Whether or not I was influenced by my husband, well, my ex-husband, now ex-husband, my husband at the time, is, you know, it's a part of it. So I'm just gonna go from the beginning, and yeah, here we go. So like I said, about a year ago, I found out that I was pregnant. Well, I got pregnant. At that point, I didn't know until I think the first week of March. But the baby was conceived this around like a couple days. I think it was like the 18th or 19th. So obviously I didn't get my period. My husband at the time was not concerned, but he asked if I had gotten my period that month, and I was like, oh, you know what, I haven't. So we were both kind of like, oh, maybe we should go get a test. So we did. I took it, and I can't tell you how many emotions I felt sitting there waiting for that test to tell me my future. I can't even begin to explain that part, but it was a lot. I do want kids. I've always wanted to be a mom, and I thought that, well, a couple weeks before this whole thing happened, I had asked my grandfather, may he rest in peace, for a sign, because things were just so bad. At that time, I was unemployed, and my husband and I were fighting, and it was just bad. And I really needed some guidance. And when I saw that pregnancy test, I was like, oh, this is going to save everything. This is going to fix everything. And I've never been one of those naive people. It just goes to show how much the abuse had really affected me, because I'm not that person. I'm more of a realist, and I'm stronger than that, and I'm not that stupid. So believing that whole thing was like, it was really, really difficult to hear myself think, oh, this is going to fix everything. And I believed it. Guys, I really believed it. So, yeah. Anyway, obviously I was pregnant, and to confirm that, I went to the doctor. My husband had to work that day, so I went alone. And, yeah, when it was confirmed and I saw that little heartbeat on the screen, it was amazing and miraculous and heartbreaking at the same time, because part of me had hoped that it had been ectopic or something, that I couldn't have it because of my PCOS or something else or whatever other reason. I really prayed for that to happen, and it didn't. It was perfectly healthy, and so was the baby, and it was really, really, it was a really tough moment for me. And at that point, I still didn't really know what was going to happen. I mean, we just found out, and at the time, like, my husband he seemed okay. He seemed kind of relieved when he found out I was pregnant. It was so weird. And when I showed him the ultrasound, the picture, which I still have, he cried, and then we fought about how we're going to afford it, and what we're going to do, and where we're going to live with the baby. There's no room for it in our apartment now. We had a 1-bedroom, and our place was tiny. It was in Bridgeport. It was just not meant for us to have a family, and we argued about that. I said we could figure out a way to make it work, and I don't know, I think I just was really optimistic, and he was completely negative, but of course at the time he was cheating, and I didn't know that, so that probably definitely had a big part of that, that reason. But that being said, we agreed finally that it wasn't the right time, and he basically said if I decided to keep it, that we would not make it. So it was him or the baby, and I chose him. And I mean, I wasn't ready to be a single mom. Maybe some point in my life I will be, or I don't know, maybe, but I wasn't ready at that point, and it was it was hard to make that decision. I don't regret it at this point, because I know I couldn't have given that child everything it deserved, and it's not the child's fault, and we went through with it. But the problem was the process to do that was extremely traumatizing. We went to a place that wasn't Planned Parenthood. It was a private place. And the first day we got there, you go in, there's no rhyme or reason to anything. There's just lots of sad women, mostly with men who are clearly not involved in these women's lives. They don't really care, and they're young. They're all very, very young. I was probably the oldest girl there. And you go to this desk, the front desk, and you check in, and they give you a form to fill out all your information. And then they basically just tell you that you have to wait until they call you. And you sit there we sat there for like 2 hours, I think. And that was really rough, because you just see these people coming out crying, and you see people going in crying, and it's just, you see these relationships just deteriorating in front of you, and it's not a fun place to be. Not that anyone would ever think that, but when you're there, it really hits home. So finally, I get called, and what they do, the process is I think it's required by law, but they make you come in, they talk to you about it, they make sure that this is your decision and no one else's decision, and they confirm, like, everything with you to make sure you're mentally sane, like you're not on drugs or whatever, and then they do an ultrasound to make sure everything's, okay in there for a procedure. So after that, you go back out to the waiting room. Unfortunately, we had gotten there later enough in the day that they were not able to take us that same day, so I had to come back and redo all of that. That part was very, very traumatizing for me, because I didn't want to be there in the first place. I wanted to go, get it done, and then leave, and had never think about it again. And we had to go back. The reason they couldn't take us was because my husband had to go to work. Yeah. He couldn't be late, so we tried to get me in on time, but he said we had to leave, so we had to leave. And that's why we had to come back the next day, which was terrible. Thinking about it now, it's like a dream. Anyway, so we go back the second day, and then same procedure. They're like, oh, wait, we interviewed you already, so we'll just use this information. Duh. I mean, like, wouldn't you do that before? Like, it just... The women were very nice, but the system was awful, and it was like you had to relive every moment, every 5 minutes, and it was extremely painful. And then they send you off to a room, and they give you a bin to put your stuff in, like your clothes, and you change into a gown, and you have this, like, cubby, and they have all these cubbies everywhere with all these women's clothes, and, like, you get into this gown, and you wait there until they call you, and you go into this room, and there's these kind of... They're nice doctors, but they do that weird thing where they joke about stuff, not about abortion or anything, they try to make your life a little easier, but obviously it's never going to happen, so it almost feels like a slap in the face when they're talking to you, and then they give you the anesthesia, and you fall asleep. And then when you wake up, you're alone again. And that was the one feeling that I think I missed the most when I got it done, was because when I found out I was pregnant, I didn't feel alone ever. Because I had, someone growing inside me. And you just don't understand that connection until you've had it. Until you've lost it. So you wake up, and they're very gentle with you. They ask if you need more time or ask if you need assistance, and they help you out to these chairs, and they give you Tylenol for the pain. And what they don't realize is that Tylenol's not going to fix anything. The pain is nothing compared to what you're feeling in your head, you know? So you sit there, maybe like an hour, and then whoever's driving you home, you meet them in the waiting area. And my husband was there and everything. It was just, I think that was it for me. I think I had lost everything at that point, including my marriage, and that was probably the hardest thing I ever had to deal with, really. And I've lost people in my life before, but to lose someone I never had a chance to know, I think that's the most heartbreaking feeling. So after we got home, there's all kinds of maintenance you have to do, and you can't use tampons for a while, and because it's healing, and there's pain, but it's not the same as if you took the pill. And then there's just this emptiness, and it doesn't go away. It just kind of sits there. And my husband, after everything, he was there for me. He got me a lot of, supplies and things like ice cream and things that he thought would make me feel better, but it didn't. So, and it was like he was there for about 3 days or 4 days, and then it was like back to the status quo. Like, it never happened. And I wish I had felt that way. I wish I could have felt the way he did, and he has no idea what it felt like. He has no idea that 3 or 4 days could turn into 3 or 4 years. I mean, I'm still, processing everything. I'm finding ways to heal. And it's just going to take some time. And now on the 2nd anniversary of my pregnancy, it's like something that, I just think about here and there. So I know this video was extremely long, but if any of you have ever been through what I have, I'm always here to listen. You can always private message me. I just think there's so much more. It's never black and white, and for someone else to judge a person's decision about their own body and their own life and their own circumstances, just, I don't agree with it. So, I mean, you can believe what you want, but that's my story, and that's where I'm coming from, and I am getting stronger. I'm feeling better about things, and it's less painful to think about sometimes, because I do know that I am grateful for where I am now. I'm grateful for what I have, that I'm not a single mom, still living at home with my parents who are helping support me and a baby. I can't be more grateful for that. I just am sad because I never got to know this little being that was living inside me for a few months. So anyway, now that I've brought on the waterworks, I thank you for listening. Again, I'm here for anybody who has questions or is going through something similar or has been through the same thing, or if you need advice, I'm more than happy to be there and listen, because it's so hard when you don't feel like you have that outlet, or you do but you don't feel comfortable with that outlet. And so for me, it's easier to talk to a bunch of strangers and share this information rather than tell my closest friends and family. And some of you who don't know this already, I'm sorry that you're hearing it this way. But some of you do know. So thank you for being there and letting me talk about it in very rare times that I would. I'm glad that I've been able to do that if I need to, and I hope you don't feel offended if I didn't talk to you about it, because I just needed to get through it myself, and yeah, and onward we go, and healing takes time, and I hope that one day I can be a mom. I hope that I'm able to have children when I'm ready, and see those lives grow, and just experience that feeling of creating life and raising it and showing it this beautiful world, even though it's really screwed up right now. But there are so many beautiful things about the world, and I hope to be able to show that to my children someday if I am blessed to have some. So that's all she wrote. I've kept up 20 minutes of your time. So thanks for listening, and I'll be back with something a little more upbeat next week. All right? Okay. Bye.